That's the spring of persistent public love. And persistent public love is the golden rule. So that's where the title came from. You have a Father who meets all your needs, therefore meet other people's needs. It's real simple. Live for others because God has put Himself at your disposal to conquer all sin in your life and meet every need that you have. That's the way it works. If you have that kind of God, you can be free to live for others. If you don't have a God like that, you're probably always going to be using others but to fill what He's supposed to be filling. That's the way it works. Now, before I unpack the golden rule in relationship to racial relations, let's make sure why it is so crucial that verses 7 to 11 support the golden rule, persistent public love. And the reason is this. I think a lot of people take up the golden rule because they assume that if they do that for others, others will do that back to them. And life gets smooth then. Do it in a family, you know. I'm going to treat you the way I'd like to be treated, and I'm expecting that you will do the same. If on the recess, if on the playground at school, I treat you the way I'd like to be treated, I'm expecting you're going to do that back. You know what? Jesus never promised that would happen. He promised the opposite. In the Sermon on the Mount, blessed are you. This is chapter 5, verse 11 or so. Blessed are you when others revile you, persecute you, utter against you all kinds of evil falsely on my account. In other words, you're trying to obey me. You're following me. You're saying what I once said. You're doing golden rule kinds of things, and you're taking it on the chin. That's what He promised would happen. Not all the time, just lots of times. Which means that if your motive is sustained by, I will do this golden rule thing as long as it works, makes things better, makes the family better, makes the office better, school better, then I'll do it. I mean, if it works, I'll do it. Jesus says, half the time it ain't going to work. If work means get back the good treatment that you're giving, Jesus said, you follow me, you live for me in this fallen world full of selfish people, they're going to take advantage of you. You love them, give to them, spend time with them, pour your life out for them, treat them the way you'd like to be treated. They'll say, yeah, keep on giving. I ain't coming back. That's the way it's going to work a lot of the time. So, how does persistent public love get sustained? Answer, verses 7 to 11. Not any payback on earth. You know what the next verse was in verse 12, chapter 5? Rejoice in that day when they're persecuting you. Rejoice in that day and be glad, for great is your what? Where? Christians know that song, that Negro spiritual, this journey is almost over. 80 years is almost over. We live for another payback, Christ. To see Him, it will be worth it all. We don't live for payback here. So that's why the therefore is so important to see, because the motive structure for living the golden rule cannot be your expectation that it's going to make things better. It is so empowering for marriages, for recess playgrounds at school, for offices, to know that efforts of love do not need to be reciprocated in order to be a blessing to you, them, and eternally. He calls us to live this way, payback or no payback on earth. He loves to see the golden rule implemented. It's the only spring. Verses 7 to 11, having a Father who meets every need, satisfies our deepest longings, is the answer to how you keep on doing the golden rule when it doesn't get reciprocated. Beginning of the 19th century, 3 million Africans had been carried to America on British ships. British ships had been carried. Stolen, kidnapped in Africa, taken to the Americas on British ships. It was a profoundly racial issue because they were all black to a man, woman, child. The only people being stolen, stripped of all human dignity, ripped apart from families, tortured on the way to work as subhuman beings were black. It was a profoundly, not only mega economic issues going on, profoundly racial issue. The attitudes, the heart that enabled it and sustained it didn't die in 1807. They're alive today all over the world, in America and in churches. The attitudes, the deeper things that would enable such a thing to happen, the manifold rationalizations that got argued on the floor of Parliament for 30 years of battle, those things did not disappear. And therefore, there's always a need. Don't ever think that we don't need to be exhorted to treat people different from us the way we'd like to be treated. Don't ever think we don't need help with that. There are all kinds of differences. Ethnic ones are not the only ones. Male, female, tall, short, skinny, fat, smart, dumb, rich, poor, dress one way, not one way, hair one way, not one way. I mean, just hundreds of differences. We never outgrow on this ethnic score the need to be exhorted with the golden rule. William Wilberforce, with many others in his day, became absolutely convinced the traffic on the seas was a great moral evil. For many reasons, not the least of which was its absolute inconsistency with the golden rule. The golden rule was cited by abolitionist preachers over and over again. One example, Abraham Booth, Calvinist, Baptist, London preacher, 1792. This is lots going on in 1792. That date should strike some of you with joy because it was the William Carey Head for India, birth of the modern missionary movement. God was doing amazing things at the end of the 18th century. Socially, evangelistically. These people didn't separate the two. We've gone through a century or so where it's hard for evangelicals to get it together. Social engagement, evangelistic zeal for lost people. You know, you hear people talk like evangelistic zeal for lost people. Well, that kind of person, people that talk that way, blood-bought, evangelistic zeal, reconciliation, propitiation, justification, sanctification, they don't care about issues. And then you got this other kind of people, kingdom, movement, justice, righteousness, peace. Hug a tree. They can't believe anything biblical. Both of those should be false. I hope at Bethlehem we help